Welcome back to another episode of Full Disclosure. I'm your host, Christian Thayer, and today's episode is actually an article and or idea that I had like a week ago, but I'm like, I need to save it for a podcast. And so I am actually very interested in this idea. And it's basically the idea that is social media actually bringing you business? And that's for some, that might be a mind blowing thought. Social media is the place to be for every business. Doesn't really matter what you are, but I don't think enough of us have stopped to actually take a step back and be like, is social media actually working specifically for real estate agents? Because real estate agents are led to believe that there's a correlation between social media success and real estate success. And this article essentially attempts to take a stab at trying to separate the facts from wishful thinking, right? It would be super easy if you could just clearly correlate, I have a huge social media following, therefore, I am going to be a successful real estate agent. In theory, that sounds like it would work, right? Well, we're going to figure it out. So please bear with me. I need to set up an analogy that I will reference back further along in the episode. Okay, so burning citronella candles keeps bears away. I know this is true because I burn the candles on my front porch in the summer and I haven't seen any bears. I recently asked my friend if she ever burns citronella candles on her deck behind her house. Her yard is large and has trees that bears could hide behind. My friend does burn citronella candles and she has not seen any bears in her yard. So the candles must work. Real estate agents have all sorts of ideas about what they have to do to sell a house. And to a mere observer, a fly on the wall, if you will, some of it looks more like it's based in superstition rather than any kind of measurement or testing. Real estate agents should be looking for cause and effect relationships that they can measure rather than anecdotal evidence. So there are three criteria that must be met in order to establish a cause and effect relationship. The cause must occur before the effect. Whenever the cause occurs, the effect must also occur. There must not be another factor that can explain the relationship between cause and effect. Who knew being a real estate agent on social media had so much science behind it? So, with the previous analogy that I stated, I can establish that I light the candles before I see any bears, and that I have never seen a bear nearby when I have the candles burning. And my friend has had the same results. So, that means that we could technically do a webinar together, put it together on YouTube, and sell a bunch of citronella candles. But I can't prove cause and effect, which is that the candles keep the bears away. There is another factor that could explain why the candles keep the bears away. Maybe there aren't any bears in the city, or there are so few that I have never seen one, or maybe they're so shy that they don't come close. Basically, what this analogy is trying to paint the picture is just because it worked for somebody else doesn't mean it's going to work for you. B, to be skeptical of people that are either selling ideas or selling courses or get rich quick schemes into all the terms of like the real estate aspect of just like, if you do this, you're going to get so many leads, or I can't believe when I started doing this, my business blew up, right? I know you guys are smart. I get that. And I'm going to guess majority of you aren't going to be falling for those things. But if you're ever like on the fence, are unsure of like the validity of something, it's never a bad idea to keep asking questions and keep digging a little further before you give them your time, or worst case scenario, your money. There can be more than one reason why business has picked up or slowed down that has nothing to do with marketing, especially in the real estate game. Is it because that it's already March? Are home sales up across the board in your market? Is there some other marketing that could be bringing in clients? Another thing you need to do is watch out for fads and or trends. And it's very hard to differentiate, or at least in the beginning stages, figure out what is actually a trend and what is something that's going to stick around and be here. I was actually thinking about this the other day. I was thinking about TikTok. More specifically, when exactly did when exactly did TikTok become a social media platform that every person has on their phone? Like, when did it transition from, oh, this is just a fun, stupid little app that kids are on, to this app is something that everybody needs to be doing? Like, how did it bridge the gap? I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't have those answers. So that's one thing to keep in mind, but that's also, again, very hard, especially if it's very early. Just because something is new or trendy or teenagers are using it right now doesn't mean that it is of any use for marketing real estate or real estate services. Fads come and go. We both know that. And even those that stick around may not be the best tool for real estate agents. As we anticipate the metaverse and start thinking about how it will change the real estate business, we shouldn't forget about Second Life. I guess that still exists. We just don't hear about it much. Second Life users create virtual representations of themselves, avatars, if you will, and are able to interact with places, objects, and other avatars. It was a big deal for several years. We're talking like a decade or so ago. If I remember correctly, and if I'm thinking of the same thing, I'm almost positive they briefly mention it in The Office, in one of the episodes, if you are familiar. It's very much like The Sims ish, but I think you can interact with other people. That was never my jam, so I don't know a ton about it. There are some methods for finding customers that salespeople have used for decades that seem to always work, at least a little. They include meeting people in person and keeping in touch with them. Obviously, that's feels right. We might use social media to stay in touch or even send an old school postcard or letter in the mail. People like to do business with people they know rather than with strangers, which is, again, another hurdle that social media will inevitably I'm gonna guess never cross, because we're strangers, especially if we do all these online marketing things. We can market to a million people, but if they don't actually know us, what's the likelihood that they're going to trust us? But bottom line, wrapping this all up, marketing efforts need to be tracked and measured. So if you are not doing that, I'm not going to say that you're wasting your time, energy, and money, because I don't know. And technically, neither do you. Because if you don't have any concrete data or analytics to be there, like, hey, are these postcards working? Like, yeah, I do EDDM because that's what real estate agents do, but is it actually working? And like one of the ways that you can find out if it's working is on your postcards, put like a little QR code that sends them to your website or somewhere. And I guarantee you can figure out how many people are actually using that QR code. And then you can deduct, all right, this is how many I sent out of that postcard. These are how many people actually opened up the QR code link. And then you can figure out, is X amount of percent worth the price or the cost of the EDDM? So that's just one way of doing it. I'm sure there are plenty of other ways that you can track your data, track your analytics. Obviously, Facebook, your business page, they have a dedicated section to your analytics, which I briefly touched on in a video I did maybe a couple weeks ago. So if you're not doing that, you need to be doing that, because that will tell you which posts people are interacting with the most, when your people are online, all of that fun stuff. So if you thought a real estate agent was just buying or selling houses, unfortunately, you are mistaken. But you obviously know that if you've been in the game long enough. So yeah, you are also a marketing, or at least you should be a marketing professional, or have somebody who is well versed in marketing to help you grow your business. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And as always, I will talk to you guys next week.